I'm Zara, 34 years old. At the gate of my oceanfront mansion, a wave of mixed feelings hit me as I faced two people I never expected to see again. My brother Aaron and his wife Vanessa stood there, luggage at their feet, desperation in their eyes, pleading to move in with me. 10 years back, Aaron punched me and cut me off after Vanessa called me trash, and I stood up to them. Before I share my choice that day, drop a comment with where you're watching from and hit like if you've faced toxic family drama too. I grew up in a cozy middle-class Boston neighborhood with my parents and Aaron, my older brother. Our two-story colonial home had a small backyard where we played for hours as kids. For years my senior, Aaron was my hero back then. He taught me to ride a bike, steadying me until I got the hang of it. When kids mocked my curly hair, he'd shut them down. Our parents worked long hours in finance, Dad as an investment advisor, Mom as an accountant, so Aaron and I were tight. We'd walk home, him guiding me across streets, then do homework and eat sandwiches while watching cartoons. Things shifted when Aaron hit 12. Suddenly, my parents piled expectations on him. They signed him up for advanced classes and extracurriculars, obsessed with his future in finance. Overnight, our family revolved around Aaron. I was only 8, but I felt the change. Dinners turned into quizzes about his grades. My wins, like nailing the spelling bee or landing the lead in a school play, got a quick nod before talk swung back to him. It stung when no one showed up to my Alice in Wonderland performance because of Aaron's debate tournament. As years passed, I pushed hard for my parents' approval. I kept a perfect GPA, joined student council, and volunteered at a hospital. But their eyes stayed on Aaron. My straight A's earned a "that's good, Zara" from Mom before she praised Aaron's B+ in advanced calculus. Aaron changed too, picking up their attitude. He'd smirk, saying, "Theater's just pretend, Zara." My work actually matters, when I shared my excitement about a school play role. By middle school, with Aaron in high school, we barely connected. He was busy with fancy internships in college prep, rarely sparing me a glance. When he did, it was to tease me in front of his friends. Once, at 13, I had my first crush over to study. Aaron barged in, spilling embarrassing childhood stories, laughing as I flushed with shame. Still, I held on to hope he cared deep down. Sometimes, he'd quietly help with my trig homework or defend me against a harsh teacher who wrongly accused me of cheating. I kept trying to reach him, slipping encouraging notes into his backpack or saving him the last slice of chocolate cake, his favorite. Those rare moments when he'd smile or ruffle my hair meant everything, reminding me of our old bond. When Aaron left for college at 18, the house felt emptier but less tense without his shadow over me. My parents noticed my achievements sometimes, Mom came to my debate finals, and Dad helped with college apps, but Aaron's Princeton classes and internships dominated their talk. I dove into school and activities, determined to succeed on my terms since their love wasn't guaranteed. By senior year, I was valedictorian, snagged a full ride to Northwestern's top business program, and ran home thrilled with my scholarship letter. It was my own victory, easing my parents' financial load. "That's wonderful, Zara," Dad said, glancing up from his paper. "Northwestern's solid," Mom added, sipping coffee. "Not Princeton, but respectable." Their half-hearted response hurt, but I was ready for it. What I didn't see coming was Aaron's call 15 minutes later. On speaker, he announced a summer associate gig at Goldman Sachs, rare for a non-MBA. My parents cheered wildly, my scholarship forgotten in their excitement. Sitting there, letter in hand, I felt invisible. That moment hit me, no matter what I did, I'd never match Aaron in their eyes. Painful as it was, that truth freed me to stop chasing their approval and forge my own path. As I packed for college that fall, I vowed to build a life that mattered, with or without my family's approval. I had no idea how much that promise would be tested. Stepping onto Northwestern University's campus felt like entering a new universe. For the first time, people saw me as Zara, not Aaron's little sister. My dorm, a 5-story brick building, had big windows with views of Lake Michigan. My roommate, Tessa from Seattle, studied marine biology and got me hooked on spicy food and indie rock. Orientation week changed everything. I went to a tech startup showcase where young entrepreneurs pitched bold ideas to investors. Their passion lit a fire in me. I'd always loved business, but watching them, some barely older than me, I realized I didn't need to wait to chase my dreams. I chose a double major in business and computer science, despite my advisor's warning, that's a tough combo. The workload's brutal. But I was ready. Years of fighting for my family's respect had made me tough and focused. College was hectic but thrilling. I joined the Entrepreneurship Club and Women in Business group, meeting students who shared my drive for innovation. In my sophomore year, I started working on a mobile app to help small businesses track inventory and connect with suppliers. I spent late nights in the computer lab, teaching myself coding and building prototypes. My family grew more distant. Sunday calls home were short and shallow. My parents were obsessed with Aaron's new job at a finance firm they'd helped him land. When I mentioned my app, Dad laughed. Apps are everywhere, Zara. Get a real internship like your brother. Money became my focus. My scholarship covered tuition, but Chicago's costs were high. I worked 20 hours a week at the campus bookstore and took freelance web design gigs. Every penny went to my app or essentials. I skipped parties to save cash in code. In my junior year, I met Professor Lawrence Bennett at a pitch competition. He'd sold his tech company for millions and saw promise in my idea. He became my mentor, helping me sharpen my business plan and learn about funding. This is big, Zara, he said after seeing my prototype. Think beyond local, aim for a regional network. With Lawrence's support, I got into the university's startup incubator. It gave me workspace, resources, and investor connections. I built a team, Zoe, a coding genius, Daniel, a creative marketing major, and Jackson, a logistics expert. Before senior year, we launched SupplyLink's beta with 20 Chicago businesses. Feedback was good, but flaws, like clunky interfaces and integration issues, caused some to drop out. That failure hit hard. I called Lawrence in tears, ready to quit. Setbacks are normal, he said. What counts is how you bounce back. I took his words to heart. My team and I spent 2 months fixing the platform, tackling every issue. I poured all my savings into it, sometimes skipping meals to stretch my budget. That Christmas, going home showed the gap between Aaron's life and mine. He'd been promoted and bought a fancy Back Bay condo. I was in thrift store clothes, thinner from my tight budget. You look worn out, Zara, Mom said at dinner. Maybe ditch the app. Dad's firm has a starter job for you. I'm okay, Mom, I said, hiding my annoyance. SupplyLink's got challenges, but we're moving forward. Aaron smirked. Sounds like a dating app for warehouse guys. My parents laughed, and that old sting of being their punchline hit me. But I was different now. Instead of retreating, I explained our new model and market potential. I didn't need their approval anymore. After graduation, while classmates chased corporate jobs, I went all in on SupplyLink. Our relaunch showed steady growth. Lawrence connected me with angel investors, giving us funds for a small office and 2 new developers. That first year was brutal, 16-hour days, 7 days a week. Seeing Aaron's social media posts, jetting off to exotic spots or buying a bigger house with our parents' support, made me doubt myself. But SupplyLink gained ground. Chicago businesses spread the word to nearby cities. By 18 months, we had 300 users across 3 states, still not profitable but growing strong. Family gatherings got awkward. My parents called me their daughter with a little internet thing, while Aaron was our son, the Morgan Stanley VP. I smiled through it, knowing their validation was out of reach. But I didn't see the bigger storm coming, one that would push not just my business grit but my personal boundaries to the limit. I met Vanessa at 26 during a Thanksgiving dinner at my parents' house. Aaron said he was bringing someone special, and my parents were buzzing with excitement. They spruced up the guest room, bought new china, and Mom even hired a cleaner, a first. When Vanessa walked in, I got why. She was gorgeous, with sleek dark hair, flawless makeup, and a confidence that screamed privilege. Her designer clothes stood out, even to me, who barely cared about fashion. Aaron gazed at her like she was everything, and my parents were just as smitten. "Zara, meet Vanessa Hartley," Aaron said, her last name heavy with importance. Later, I learned her dad owned a major East Coast private equity firm. "So nice to meet you," Vanessa said, air-kissing my cheeks. Aaron's told me all about his little sister and her cute app business. Her tone made my skin crawl, but I forced a smile. "SupplyLink's actually doing great. We just hit the Midwest market." "How sweet," she said, already eyeing Mom's new kitchen. At dinner, Vanessa stole the show, talking about her Paris trip, her dad's yacht, and a charity gala that raised $1 million. My parents ate it up, asking about her wine choice and ignoring me. When I tried sharing about a big client we signed, Mom cut me off to gush over Vanessa's diamond bracelet. I felt invisible, like Aaron's new girlfriend embodied everything they valued: money, status, connections. After dinner, I cleared dishes while they sipped coffee in the living room. I overheard Vanessa say, "Tech's so risky. I worry about people betting everything on it." Then, quieter, especially without the right education. My face burned, she meant me. But I took a deep breath, reminding myself their opinions didn't define me. Over the next few months, Aaron and Vanessa got serious. They landed in Boston Magazine's Power Couples Under 30, and my parents couldn't stop raving. During a call, Mom hinted I should let Aaron set me up with his colleagues since I wasn't getting younger. "I'm focused on my company, Mom," I said. "Dating's not my thing right now." She sighed. "Not everyone can marry a Vanessa, but you could try for someone decent." I still tried with Aaron, meeting him for lunch in Boston, though Vanessa often tagged along. She'd ask shallow questions about my business, then pivot to her world. 6 months in, Aaron proposed to her with a 5-carat ring during a hot air balloon ride in Napa Valley. Their engagement hit the Boston Globe's society pages, and my parents dove into planning a lavish wedding. I got invited to their engagement party at the Hartley Estate, a massive Brookline mansion with perfect gardens and a city view. Surrounded by rich guests, I felt out of place and slipped into the library for a breather. Then I heard Vanessa next door. "Your sister's nice, Aaron, but she's kind of embarrassing. Everyone here matters, and she's got that failing startup in a warehouse." I waited for Aaron to defend me. Instead, he sighed, "Yeah, babe, she's always been the family letdown. Mom and Dad tried, but she's not cut out for the real world. She's basically trash next to our crowd," Vanessa went on. "Her outfit? No effort. Let's keep her out of the wedding spotlight," Aaron said. "Stick her in the back with the cousins." It felt like a punch to the gut. I'd clung to the hope Aaron still cared, the brother who taught me to ride a bike. That illusion shattered right there. I left the library, masking my pain, and faked smiles through the party. When Vanessa announced their spring wedding date, I clapped, feeling empty. On my flight back to Chicago, I decided I'd go to their wedding. It was expected, but I'd set firmer boundaries with my family. Chasing their approval was breaking me. I didn't know then that the worst was coming. The wedding would snap my ties with them for good. 6 months later, planning was in overdrive. Though I was Aaron's only sister, Vanessa picked her sorority sisters and cousins as bridesmaids, not me. "It's not personal," Aaron said over the phone. "Vanessa has her vision for the wedding party." I brushed it off. SupplyLink was booming, with new funding and operations in 6 states, plus a team of 15. SupplyLink was finally making a small profit, and I poured every cent back into growing it. 3 months before Aaron's wedding, Mom called out of the blue. "Zara, we need to talk about wedding costs," she said, no warm-up. "What costs?" I asked, confused. I'd already bought my dress and booked flights. The Hartleys are paying a lot, but as the groom's family, we're still short. We've dipped into our retirement savings, but it's not enough. A bad feeling hit me. What are you saying, Mom? We need your help, Zara. We used your credit card for some deposits. Your business is doing well, and this is a big family moment. I nearly dropped my phone. You did what? How did you get my card? You left your wallet here last visit, she said, brushing it off. It's no big deal. We're family, and it's Aaron's wedding. I checked my account and felt sick. Over $100,000 in charges for wedding vendors, a fancy hotel, top caterer, designer florist, and more. Mom, this is crazy. You can't just charge $100,000 without my permission. Don't be dramatic, she snapped. Aaron would do the same for you. Family helps family. Your little app can cover it. I was furious and stunned. They stole from me and acted like I owed them. Refund every charge now, I said. This is theft. It's illegal. You're so selfish, Mom shot back. After all we've done, this is Aaron's big day. Done for me? I fired back. I got through college on my own, built my business without you, and now you steal from me and call me selfish? The call went downhill, ending with Mom hanging up, calling me ungrateful. Dad called later, calmer but still insisting I cover the costs as family duty. I contacted my credit card company to dispute the charges, but since my parents had my card and we were related, it got messy. They suggested a police report, but I wasn't ready to go that far against my own parents. The week before the wedding, I went to Boston for pre-wedding events. Despite everything, I attended the rehearsal dinner at a fancy harborfront restaurant. I planned to confront Aaron and my parents about the credit card after the wedding, hoping for a private resolution. The dinner was extravagant, 5 courses, premium wines. Vanessa's dad toasted Aaron as the son I never had, and my parents glowed with pride. I sat quietly, feeling like a stranger at my own family's event. After dinner, guests mingled in the private bar area. I was chatting with one of Aaron's friends when Vanessa approached, tipsy from champagne. Zara, darling, she said loudly, thanks for your generous wedding contribution. Aaron told me about the credit card. So sweet of you. My face burned as heads turned. That's not how it went, I said softly. Her smile turned icy. Oh. I heard you're making a fuss. So stingy for your brother's big day. Years of being dismissed, labeled the family failure, and chasing their approval boiled over. My parents stole $100,000 from my card without permission, I said clearly. That's not stingy. It's called boundaries. Vanessa's eyes widened, fake concern dripping. Is your app not doing well? Money tight? We could have put you at the free table. My business is fine, I said, fighting to stay calm. This is about respect and decency, things you don't get. How dare you talk to my fiancé like that? Aaron's voice cut in. He'd snuck up behind me, catching the end of our spat. I faced him. She's humiliating me in public, Aaron. And you and our parents had no right to use my card. We thought you'd want to help, he said, brushing me off. But you're too selfish for family. This isn't about family, I said, my voice rising. It's about you all taking what you want from me without giving anything back. Nothing? Aaron laughed bitterly. We gave you a home, opportunities, connections. No, you got those, I said. I was sidelined, told I wasn't enough. Guests were staring now, and Vanessa seemed to love the drama. Told you she's trash, she whispered to Aaron. No class, causing a scene. I couldn't hold back. I heard you both at the engagement party, in the library at your parents' house. You called me trash and a disappointment. You agreed, Aaron. His face twisted with anger. You were spying? I wasn't spying. I was in the next room, and you weren't quiet. It happened so fast. Aaron's face went red, and his fist hit my cheek, knocking me into a cocktail table. The room went silent. I touched my face, feeling the sting and a trickle of blood. Get out, Aaron growled. You're not welcome at my wedding or in my life. No one stepped in, not my parents, frozen nearby, nor the guests watching Aaron's attack. Vanessa, looking smug, looped her arm through his, like she was comforting him. Tears stunned my eyes as I grabbed my purse and left the restaurant. Outside, I took a taxi to my hotel, hands shaking as I packed. I caught the first flight back to Chicago the next morning. The wedding went on without me 2 days later. My credit card company sorted out most of the charges, but it took months and hurt my credit score. No one, neither my parents nor Aaron, ever apologized. I didn't hear from them for years. That night broke something. Aaron's punch was the final straw, but our bond had cracked long before. On the flight home, I vowed to build a life so full their absence would barely matter. The months after were tough. I buried myself in work to dodge the pain, staying at the office until dawn. My team saw the change, dark circles, sharper temper, but I brushed it off with talk of growth and markets. I opened up to Lawrence over coffee one rainy day, spilling everything about my family. He listened, his face growing grim. Zara, that was abuse, financial, emotional, and physical, he said. Have you thought about therapy? I hadn't, but it clicked. The next day, I found Dr. Sofia Martinez, a family trauma specialist. Our weekly talks grounded me as I wrestled with grief, anger, and the freedom of cutting family ties. Estrangement is more common than you think, Dr. Martinez said. Sometimes it's the healthiest choice. Meanwhile, SupplyLink soared past my dreams. From a small business tool, it became a full supply chain platform. A big venture capital investment let us hire more coders and boost marketing. I moved to a bigger Chicago office and hired Rachel Kim, a startup scaling pro, as COO. With her handling daily tasks, I focused on big-picture growth. By year's end, we were in 15 states, catching industry eyes. Tech Innovator featured women founders in supply chain tech and sent Brian Walsh to interview me. His smart questions about SupplyLink's challenges turned a 1-hour talk into 3. It ended with him asking me to dinner. Our first date was at a cozy Lincoln Park Italian spot. Brian was different, kind, curious, with a dry humor that made me laugh for the first time in ages. On our third date, I warned, my family's messy, I don't talk to them anymore. Families who shows up for you, he said, who respects you and cheers your wins without strings. Over the next year, Brian and I grew close, built on respect and care. He got my late nights and travel, I backed his new role as tech editor at a big publication. With SupplyLink thriving and my life steadier, I wanted a fresh start. Chicago was great, but I craved something new. On a California business trip, I fell for the coast south of San Francisco. The Pacific's endless waves soothed me. When a $4 million cliffside home in Half Moon Bay hit the market, I knew it was mine. SupplyLink's success let me buy it outright and hire a designer to make it both luxe and cozy. Brian supported my move. We did long distance until he transferred to his publication's San Francisco office. He kept his city apartment but spent weekends with me. In California, I built a new circle, joining a business leaders forum, befriending tech founders, and taking up beach yoga and hiking. Lawrence visited, proud of my growth. Rachel ran the Chicago office perfectly, while I opened a small San Francisco branch. SupplyLink went global, reaching Canada, the UK, and Australia with a new mobile app for managing inventory anywhere. For years post-wedding, we were valued at over $200 million. I landed on Forbes 40 Under 40 and spoke at global tech conferences. The scared woman who fled Boston had become a confident entrepreneur, living life on my terms. Sometimes, I'd hear about my family through old friends. Aaron and Vanessa had upgraded to a bigger house in a posh Boston suburb. My parents retired early, thanks to Aaron's investment tips. They still mingled at fancy galas and country clubs, their lives unchanged except I wasn't there. I'd wonder if they missed me or felt sorry for what they did. Over time, those thoughts faded, hurting less each day. I built a new family: Brian, who loved me for me; Lawrence, who believed in me when no one else did; Rachel and my supply link team, who helped me create something real; and friends who showed up for birthdays, checked in during my travels, and cared about me with no strings attached. 6 years after leaving Boston, Brian proposed on a sunset beach walk near our home. We had a small wedding on that beach, surrounded by close friends. Lawrence walked me down the aisle. Rachel was my maid of honor. No drama, just love. The next year, our daughter, Lily, arrived, named after Brian's grandmother. Holding her, I promised she'd always know her worth wasn't tied to achievements or comparisons. She'd be loved for being her. Life found a sweet rhythm. SupplyLink kept growing, but I stepped back from daily tasks to focus on strategy and family. Brian published a tech book and started another. Our oceanfront home echoed with laughter and peace I'd never known as a kid. 10 years after cutting ties, my security system buzzed one November morning. On the screen were Aaron and Vanessa, looking nothing like before. Brian was out with 4-year-old Lily at her swim lesson. I was sipping coffee on the terrace, reviewing SupplyLink reports, the Pacific Ocean crashing below. The chime broke my calm. I checked the monitor and froze. Aaron and Vanessa stood at my gate, staring into the camera. Vanessa's perfect hair and designer outfits were gone. She wore jeans and a plain sweater, her hair in a simple ponytail. Aaron, once sharp in suits, was in wrinkled khakis and a button-down, both looking worn out with dark circles under their eyes. I almost ignored them, tempted to let them leave and keep my life untouched. But curiosity and a sense of fate pushed me forward. This moment felt inevitable. I set down my coffee and walked to the gate. Their faces softened with relief when they saw me. Behind them, a beat-up sedan was stuffed with luggage, a far cry from their old luxury cars. "Zara," Aaron said as I stopped at the gate, keeping it between us. "You look good. Why are you here?" I asked, voice steady. "How did you find me?" Vanessa spoke up. "Business Weekly mentioned you live in Half Moon Bay. We asked around for your address." "That doesn't answer why," I said. "It's been 10 years since you hit me and told me to get lost." Aaron looked ashamed. "I know I have no right to be here, but we're out of options." "What happened?" I asked, sensing the answer. "Everything crashed," he said, running a hand through graying hair. He was only 44. "My firm got caught in bad investments. I lost my job, then the market tanked, and our savings vanished. We sold our house," Vanessa added, her voice quiet. "Then our apartment. We've been crashing with friends, but they're done with us." "And Mom and Dad?" I asked. Aaron stared at the ground. "They lost everything too, following my investment advice. They're in a tiny Florida condo, scraping by." Silence hung heavy. I studied them, looking for the arrogant people who'd belittled me. Instead, I saw two broken souls, humbled by life's blows. "Zara, we need a place to stay," Aaron said. "Just for a bit, until we're back on our feet. I've got job leads, but nothing solid. Vanessa's looking for work, but it's tough without a degree." "You want to live with me?" I said, the irony sharp after all they'd done. Vanessa nodded, tears in her eyes. "We wouldn't ask if we had anywhere else." "Your parents stole from me for your wedding," I reminded them. "And you, Aaron, punched me for standing up to you. You both called me trash. Now you want my help?" "We don't deserve it," Aaron said softly. "But we're family, Zara, despite it all." "Family?" I echoed, the word bitter. "You didn't call me family when you were on top." I was the embarrassment, the letdown. Trash next to your fancy friends. They winced at my words, hearing their own cruelty echoed back. I was wrong, Vanessa whispered. We both were. How we treated you was awful. It was, I said. And an apology now, when you're desperate, doesn't feel real. Aaron stepped closer to the gate. I get why you're mad, Zara. But we're begging. We'll do chores, fix things, stay out of your way, just until we can afford an apartment deposit. I studied them, their desperate eyes, slouched shoulders, and the luggage crammed in their car, all they had left. I thought about my life now, my success, my chosen family, my peace. I pictured them in my home, tense mornings, explaining them to Lily, the old judgments creeping back. It would say people could hurt me without consequence if they just said sorry when it suited them. This moment was a turning point. My choice would shape not just my ties with Aaron and Vanessa but the example I'd set for Lily about self-respect. I need to think, I said. Wait here. I headed back to the house, my mind swirling with mixed feelings. On the terrace, I saw Brian's car pull in from Lily's swim lesson. I waited as my daughter ran up, her wet hair dripping on her pink cover-up, her face glowing. Mommy, I held my breath underwater for 10 seconds, she shouted, hugging my legs. That's amazing, sweetie, I said, smoothing her hair. I'm so proud. Brian walked up, noticing my distraction. Everything okay? I took a deep breath. Aaron and Vanessa are at the gate. They want to move in. His eyes widened. Your brother who hit you? I nodded, explaining their situation as Lily played nearby. Brian listened, his face growing serious. What do you want to do? He asked. It's your call, and I'm with you. But remember Dr. Martinez's words about boundaries. I thought of my therapy, the work to heal from my family's harm, the life I'd built free of their judgment. I pictured what I'd want for Lily in my shoes. Clarity hit me. I walked back to the gate where Aaron and Vanessa waited, nervous. I felt calm, the ocean breeze in my hair, facing two people who once crushed my spirit. Now they stood humbled, asking for help they never offered me. I've decided, I said firmly. You can't move in. Their faces fell, fear and disappointment clear. Aaron started to argue, but I raised my hand. Let me finish. This isn't about revenge. I don't hate you. I let go of that anger years ago for my own peace. I paused, then went on. But I can't let you into my home. Our relationship was toxic. You and our parents belittled me, stole from me, and, Aaron, you hit me when I stood up for myself. Vanessa's tears fell. We know we were wrong, Zara. We've changed. Life's humbled us. Maybe you have, I said. I hope so. But an apology now, when you're desperate, feels like need, not remorse. Aaron's face tightened. So you're turning your back on family after all your advantages? I laughed at the irony. Advantages? I built everything despite your family telling me I wasn't enough. And you turned your back on me with your fist 10 years ago. Shame crossed his face, then anger. You're selfish, he muttered. The ocean breeze swept across my face, cool and salty, as I stood at the gate of my half-moon bay home, the Pacific stretching endlessly behind me. It was a crisp morning, and the weight of the moment pressed against my chest. Aaron and Vanessa stood before me, their tired eyes pleading, their once polished appearances replaced by worn clothes and weary expressions. Their sedan, packed with luggage, idled on the street, a stark contrast to the luxury cars they'd driven a decade ago. I'd just told them they couldn't move in, and now Aaron's voice cut through the silence, softer but still tinged with desperation. What about your daughter? He asked, almost whispering. Can we at least meet our niece? She's family, Zara. The question hit me like a wave, stirring memories I'd buried deep. I saw Lily's tiny face the day she was born, her eyes blinking up at me in the hospital room, Brian's hand squeezing mine as we marveled at her perfection. I'd held her close, promising she'd grow up knowing her worth, free from the comparisons that had scarred my childhood. That memory hardened my resolve. Not now, I said, my voice steady but gentle. Maybe someday, if you prove real change over time. Any bond with Lily has to be genuine, built on trust, not guilt or obligation. Her world is one of love and safety, and I won't let uncertainty disrupt that. Aaron's face tightened, his old stubbornness flaring. He shifted his weight, the gravel crunching under his worn shoes. How can we show we've changed if you won't give us a chance? His words carried a familiar edge, the same tone he'd used when we were kids, arguing over who got the bigger slice of cake in our Boston kitchen. Back then, he always won, not because he was right, but because our parents tilted the scales in his favor. I took a deep breath, grounding myself in the present. The gate's cold metal under my fingers anchored me, a reminder of the boundaries I'd fought to establish. You start by respecting the boundaries I'm setting right now, I said, meeting his eyes. That's the first step. Trust isn't a gift you demand, it's earned, piece by piece, over time. You broke it with words, with theft, with violence. Rebuild your lives first, stand on your own, and then approach me as equals, not as people begging for rescue. That's how you prove change. Their disappointment was palpable, a heavy cloud between us. Vanessa's tears glistened on her cheeks, her plain sweater a far cry from the designer dresses she'd flaunted at that fateful engagement party. Aaron's shoulders sagged further, his gray-streaked hair catching the morning light, making him look older than his years. I could see it in their eyes, they knew they had no right to expect more. A decade ago, at their wedding rehearsal dinner, I'd felt the sting of Vanessa's public humiliation and Aaron's fist against my cheek. The memory flashed vividly, the restaurant's dim lights, the clink of glasses, the guests' stunned silence as I stumbled into a cocktail table, blood trickling from my lip. No one, not my parents, not a single guest, had stepped forward to help. That moment had severed our ties, and now, standing here, I refused to let that pain creep back into my life. I'm not leaving you with nothing, I said, pulling up a document on my phone. Here's info for 3 extended-stay hotels nearby with weekly rates. I've paid for 2 weeks at any of them to give you time to plan. I sent it to Aaron's phone, the buzz breaking the tense silence. I've also included contacts for a local workforce development center for job support and rental assistance programs in the county. Vanessa looked up, her tear-streaked face showing confusion. Why help us at all after everything we did? Her voice trembled, a shadow of the confident woman who'd once dismissed my cute little app business over Thanksgiving dinner. I paused, letting the question settle. The ocean's steady rhythm behind me felt like a heartbeat, grounding me in my truth. Because I choose to be better than how you treated me, I said simply. I won't risk my family's peace by letting old toxic patterns back in, but I can offer tools to help you move forward. That's my choice, not an obligation. Aaron's expression flickered between gratitude and resentment, his pride clearly bruised. I remembered him as a boy, teaching me to ride a bike in our Boston backyard, his hands steadying me until I found my balance. That brother was long gone, replaced by someone who'd absorbed our parents' favoritism and let it shape his cruelty. We'll take the hotel, he said finally, his voice low. And I'm sorry, Zara. For everything. Not just because we're desperate now, but because I've had time to reflect. I was wrong, horribly wrong. I let our parents' expectations twist me, made me see you as less when you were out there building something incredible. Losing everything, my job, our savings, our status, forced me to see what really matters. Family, the real kind, isn't about who's on top. I failed you, and I'll carry that regret forever. His words were raw, heavy with a sincerity I hadn't heard from him since we were kids. Vanessa nodded, her eyes downcast. I'm sorry too, she said, her voice breaking. I was cruel, dismissive, caught up in my own world. I called you names, belittled your work, and I was wrong. Life stripped away my arrogance, and I see now how much I hurt you. We don't expect forgiveness, but we're truly sorry. Their apologies hung in the air, fragile and unfamiliar. I thought back to that night at their engagement party, hiding in the Hartley Estates library, overhearing Vanessa call me trash and Aaron agree I was the family disappointment. The pain of that moment had cut deep, shattering the last thread of hope I'd held for our bond. Now, their remorse felt like a distant echo, sincere perhaps, but not enough to erase the past. I hope you mean it, I said, my tone calm but firm. For your sake more than mine. Holding on to resentment would only hurt me, so I forgave you all years ago. Not because you earned it back then, but because I deserved to live free from that weight. Peace isn't something others give you, it's what you claim for yourself. I reached for the gate's latch, the metal cool and solid under my fingers. The click as it locked felt final, a clear line drawn between my past and present. I turned and walked back up the path, the crunch of gravel under my shoes blending with the distant crash of waves. The sun warmed my skin, and the scent of salt and eucalyptus filled the air, wrapping me in the comfort of my chosen home. On the terrace, Brian and Lily waited, my anchors in this life I'd built. Lily was sprawled on a blanket, her toys scattered around her, humming a tune from her swim class. Brian stood as I approached, his warm brown eyes searching mine for signs of distress. He wrapped an arm around me, and we turned to watch Aaron and Vanessa's sedan disappear down the coastal road, its engine fading into the morning's quiet. "You okay?" he asked, his voice a soft tether to the present. I leaned into him, feeling the steady beat of his heart against my shoulder. "Yes," I said, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. The word felt solid, real. I'm at peace, not because this fixed anything, but because I know my worth doesn't hinge on their approval. I've built a life that's mine, and I'm not letting their shadows dim it. We sat together, watching Lily play, her laughter a bright counterpoint to the weight of the morning. I thought of a day last summer, when Lily and I had spent hours building a sandcastle on this very beach. She'd been so focused, her small hands patting the sand, giggling as the tide tickled her toes. "Mommy, it's our castle," she declared, planting a tiny flag made from a stick and a scrap of cloth. That moment, her joy, her unfiltered trust in me, had felt like a promise kept, a life free from the conditional love I'd grown up with. I wanted that for her always, and letting Aaron and Vanessa into our world now risked tainting that purity. That evening, after we'd tucked Lily into bed, her small form curled under the covers, her nightlight casting stars across her ceiling, I slipped into the study. The house was still, the kind of quiet that felt full of love and possibility. I called Lawrence, my mentor and friend, needing to share this moment with someone who'd seen my journey from the start. His familiar voice answered, warm and steady, and I launched into the story of Aaron and Vanessa's visit, their haggard looks, their plea for shelter, their apologies, and my decision to hold firm. "You handled it with grace," Lawrence said when I finished, his tone rich with pride. "You didn't shut them out to hurt them, you protected your peace while still showing compassion. That's strength, Zara. True healing isn't about erasing the past or pretending it didn't happen. It's about choosing who you allow in your life based on what aligns with your growth." His words settled like a warm blanket. "I kept thinking about Lily," I said, my voice softening. "If she were in my shoes, facing family who'd caused her pain and then came knocking for help, I'd want her to choose herself first. To know that love, real love, doesn't demand you sacrifice your dignity or peace. I want her to see boundaries as strength, not selfishness." "Exactly," Lawrence replied. "You're modeling that for her every day. You've turned her pain into a legacy of resilience. That's no small thing." We talked longer, reminiscing about my college days when I'd nervously pitched Supply Link to him, a fledgling idea born from determination. He laughed, recalling my stubborn insistence on a dual major despite his warnings about the workload. "You were unstoppable then," he said, "and you still are." After we hung up, I stepped back onto the terrace. The night was clear, stars scattered across the sky like tiny promises. I walked down to the beach, the sand cool and soft under my bare feet. The waves rolled in, their rhythm steady and eternal, a reminder of life cycles, storms followed by calm, pain giving way to peace. I sat on a smooth rock, knees drawn up, and let the day's events settle in my mind. The ocean had been my teacher these past years in California. Its vastness put my struggles in perspective, showing me they were just one chapter in a larger story. When I'd first moved here, I'd walk this beach at dawn, the horizon stretching endlessly before my new home. Those walks had healed me, each step a release of the weight I'd carried from Boston, my parents' favoritism, Aaron's betrayal, Vanessa's cruelty. The ocean didn't judge or compare, it simply was, and it taught me to be the same. Reflecting now, I saw my life as a tapestry woven from both pain and triumph. There was the sting of my parents' indifference when I'd won the spelling bee at 8, their eyes fixed on Aaron's debate trophy instead. The humiliation of Aaron's teasing in front of my first crush at 13, his laughter echoing as my cheeks burned. The betrayal of my parents using my credit card for Aaron's wedding, dismissing my outrage as selfishness. And the sharp pain of Aaron's fist at the rehearsal dinner, the final act that drove me from their world. But there were brighter threads too. The thrill of pitching SupplyLink at Northwestern's startup showcase, my heart racing as investors leaned forward. The late nights in the computer lab, coding through self-doubt, fueled by a vision only I could see. The warmth of Lawrence's encouragement, his belief in me when I was just a student with a dream. The moment I held Lily for the first time, her tiny fingers curling around mine, promising a new kind of family. And Brian's quiet support, his love a steady foundation that never demanded I be anything but myself. The greatest lesson I'd learned was this: family isn't defined by blood, but by actions, mutual respect, consistent support, unconditional acceptance. My parents, Aaron and Vanessa, had seen me as a means to an end, their love tied to how I could serve their image or needs. But Brian, Lawrence, Rachel, and my friends, they valued me for me, celebrating my successes without strings, holding space for my struggles without judgment. They were my true family, built not on obligation but on choice. Setting boundaries wasn't about slamming doors or settling scores with those who'd hurt me. It was about carving out a sacred space for relationships that lifted my spirit, that poured energy into my soul rather than sapping it dry. Saying no to Aaron and Vanessa today wasn't an act of cruelty, it was an act of love, fierce and unyielding, for myself, for my daughter Lily, and for the life I'd painstakingly built. It was a declaration, etched in the salt air of my half-moon bay home, that I deserved better than the toxic dynamics that had once defined my world. As I stood on that terrace, the ocean's steady rhythm below me, I thought of a moment just last week with Lily. We were in our sunny kitchen, sunlight streaming through the wide windows, flour dusting the counter like soft snow. She stood on a stool, her tiny hands clumsily shaping cookie dough, giggling as a smudge of flour landed on her nose. "Mommy, you're the best," she'd squealed, throwing her arms around me, her warmth and trust wrapping me in a joy so pure it felt like a gift. That moment, her unfiltered love, her belief in me, was what I was protecting today. I wouldn't let the shadows of my past dim her light. My journey from being the family's disappointment, always in Aaron's golden shadow, to a woman standing firmly in her own power had been a winding, often treacherous path. There were nights in college, alone in my Northwestern dorm, where I'd curled up on my narrow bed, tears soaking my pillow as I wondered if I'd ever be enough. The silence of that tiny room, with its brick walls and Lake Michigan views, felt like a mirror to my loneliness, reflecting back the years of being overlooked by my parents. I'd lie awake, replaying moments like the time I won the spelling bee at 8, so proud, only to see my parents' eyes fixed on Aaron's debate trophy, their praise reserved for him. Those nights, the ache of not being seen gnawed at me, whispering doubts that followed me into the morning. Then there were the days after the wedding incident, when Aaron's fist had left more than a bruise on my cheek, it had shattered the last fragile thread tying me to my family. I'd sat in my Chicago apartment, staring at the skyline through a rain-streaked window, questioning if cutting them off was too final. Would I regret it? Would I wake up one day wishing I'd tried harder to mend things? The weight of that choice pressed heavy, like a stone in my chest, as I navigated the fallout, disputing $100,000 in stolen credit card charges, rebuilding my credit, rebuilding myself. I'd walk to the campus bookstore where I worked, the familiar shelves of books a quiet comfort, and wonder if I'd made the right call by walking away from the only family I'd known. And there were moments of fear when SupplyLink's beta version stumbled, when businesses dropped out citing clunky interfaces, and I thought my dreams might crumble like a poorly coded program. I'd sat in the computer lab late at night, the hum of machines my only company, my fingers trembling over the keyboard as I debugged code and my own insecurities. What if I'd bet everything on a failure? What if my parents were right and I wasn't cut out for this? But each setback, each bug fixed, each night I pushed through, taught me resilience. I learned to trust my vision, to believe in my worth, to choose myself even when the world seemed to say I shouldn't. Those challenges forged me, shaping a strength I hadn't known I possessed, a courage that became my foundation. As I sat on the beach that evening, the stars twinkling above like scattered diamonds, gratitude swelled in my chest, as vast and deep as the Pacific stretching before me. The waves rolled in, their rhythm a soothing lullaby, each crash a reminder of life's ebb and flow. I was grateful for the hardships that had forced me to dig deep, to find a core of steel beneath my doubts. Growing up, I'd been the afterthought, the one whose spelling bee wins and school play leads were met with distracted nods while Erin's every achievement was celebrated. But those slights had pushed me to carve my own path, to pour my heart into SupplyLink when no one else believed in it. The late nights coding, the freelance gigs to pay my bills, the rejection from my family, they'd all been fuel, burning away my need for their approval and igniting my drive to succeed. I was grateful, too, for the people who saw my light when my family was blind. Lawrence, my mentor, who'd sat across from me in a cluttered university office, his eyes sharp with belief as I pitched SupplyLink's early prototype. "You've got something special, Zara," he'd said, his voice steady, giving me the courage to keep going. I remembered our coffee meetings, the way he'd listen as I poured out my fears, his advice a lifeline through the chaos of startup life. And Brian, my partner, whose love was a quiet strength, never asking me to dim my ambition or change who I was. I thought of our first date at that little Italian restaurant in Lincoln Park, his dry humor making me laugh until my sides ached, a lightness I hadn't felt in years. Rachel, my COO, who'd taken SupplyLink's daily operations and turned them into a well-oiled machine, her partnership freeing me to dream bigger. My friends, who showed up with homemade dinners during crunch times, who texted to check in when I was traveling, who celebrated my wins without a hint of envy, they were my chosen family, their support a tapestry of love woven through my life. And, in a strange, bittersweet way, I was grateful even for Erin and Vanessa. Their rejection, their cruelty, had been the crucible that burned away my need for external validation. I thought back to that Thanksgiving when Vanessa's air kisses and condescending cute little app business comment had made my skin crawl. To the engagement party where I'd overheard them call me trash, Erin's agreement cutting deeper than any insult. To the rehearsal dinner, where Vanessa's public humiliation was followed by Erin's fist, a moment that still stung when I touched the faint scar on my cheek. Their actions had hurt, yes, but they'd also set me free. They'd forced me to let go of the fantasy that I could ever win their love, pushing me to build a life on my own terms, confident, whole, and unapologetically myself. Sitting there, the sand cool beneath me, I felt the ocean's lessons seep deeper. Its vastness had taught me perspective. My struggles, as painful as they'd been, were just ripples in a larger story. I remembered my first dawn walk on this beach, shortly after moving to Half Moon Bay. The sky had been streaked with pink, the air sharp with salt, and I'd felt a quiet healing begin. Each step had been a release, a shedding of the weight I'd carried from Boston, the favoritism, the betrayal, the violence. The ocean didn't care about my past or my pain, it simply was, steady and unchanging, and it showed me I could be the same. I could stand firm, rooted in my truth, no matter who tried to shake me. My life now was a testament to that truth. I thought of SupplyLink's growth, from a shaky beta to a platform serving businesses across continents, valued at over $200 million. I saw myself in that Forbes feature, standing tall at tech conferences, my voice steady as I shared my story. I pictured my home, perched on this cliff, its wide windows framing the sea, filled with Lily's laughter and Brian's warmth. This was the life I was meant for, not one of chasing approval, but of building something real, something mine. Boundaries, I'd learned, were not walls to keep people out but gardens to nurture what mattered. They weren't about punishment or revenge, they were about creating space for relationships that fed my soul, that honored my worth. Saying no to Erin and Vanessa wasn't about holding a grudge, it was about protecting the joy of moments like baking with Lily, her flour-dusted smile a reminder of what I'd fought for. It was about ensuring my daughter grew up knowing love should never come with strings, that she deserved respect without having to earn it through achievements or compliance. I thought of another moment, a few months ago, when Lily and I had gone tiddapooling along the shore. She'd squealed at every starfish, her small hand clutching mine as she pointed out crabs scuttling across the rocks. "Look, Mommy, they're so tiny but so brave," she'd said, her eyes wide with wonder. I wanted her to carry that bravery, to know she could stand up for herself, just as I'd learned to do. Letting Aaron and Vanessa into our lives now risked bringing back the old patterns, judgment, dismissal, conditional love, that I'd worked so hard to leave behind. I couldn't let that touch her. My path hadn't been easy. There were moments of doubt, like when I'd sat in my Chicago apartment after the wedding fallout, staring at unpaid bills and wondering if I'd made a mistake by walking away. Loneliness had crept in during those early years, when I'd see social media posts of Aaron's glamorous life, funded by our parents, while I scraped by on freelance gigs. Fear had gripped me when SupplyLink's first launch faltered, and I'd stayed up all night, my eyes burning from the computer screen, wondering if I'd gambled everything on a pipe dream. But each stumble had taught me something: resilience in the face of failure, self-worth despite rejection, courage to keep going when the odds felt stacked against me. Now, as the stars reflected on the water's surface, I felt a peace that ran deeper than words. Gratitude filled me, not just for the triumphs but for the trials that had shaped me. For the people who'd stood by me, Lawrence's steady guidance, Brian's unwavering love, Rachel's fierce competence, my friend's quiet loyalty. For the ocean, my constant teacher, showing me that life's storms pass, leaving calm in their wake. And yes, even for Aaron and Vanessa, whose rejection had been the fire that forged me, burning away my need for their approval and setting me free to become the woman I was always meant to be. I stood, brushing the sand from my hands, and looked back at my home, its warm lights glowing against the night. Lily slept there, dreaming under her starlit nightlight. Brian was likely reading, waiting for me to join him. This was my life, built from scratch, rooted in love and choice. I'd chosen myself, and in doing so, I'd created a world where I could thrive. If you've ever had to set a tough boundary with family who hurt you, how did you find the strength to hold it when they needed you? Share your stories in the comments, I'd love to hear them. If my journey resonates, hit like and follow for more real-life tales. Your worth isn't tied to those who couldn't see it, it's in your courage to value yourself despite their blindness. Thanks for watching, and here's to the strength to build the boundaries you deserve.